Hi, friends. Today is Friday, October the 30th, and this is the 22nd edition of Book Fun Friday. Welcome. The young adult novel I'm going to talk about today is titled The 5 Stages of Andrew Brawley, and it's written by the author Shaun David Hutchinson. So, the protagonist of this book is a young man who's 17 years old, and he's in a lot of pain. He is the sole survivor of a car accident that has taken his entire family. He's lost his father, his mother, and his younger sister. And so, on top of the fact that he is grieving this deep and profound loss, he is also experiencing this deep and profound sense of survivor's guilt. He is blaming himself not only for the accident that took his family's lives, but he's blaming himself for surviving this accident. And because of this belief that he was at fault and that death made a mistake when she didn't take him, but she took the rest of his family, he honestly believes that from this point forward in his life, he is supposed to have nothing but pain. And so he navigates this sense of grief and guilt by a series of really self-fulfilling, destructive choices. For example, when the novel opens, he is actually living in the hospital. There's an area of the hospital that was under construction, and the construction was halted, and so it's sort of this abandoned, drafty, cold, uncomfortable place that nobody goes in the hospital right now. He's hiding in that space of the hospital because he believes that that's all he deserves. He doesn't deserve anything better than a pile of things cobbled together to make a bed on the floor of an abandoned construction area. He befriends the nurses in the emergency room, but they're not authentic relationships. He can't actually be friends with these adults who really aren't supposed to know that he's hanging around the emergency room. He hangs out with a couple of kids in the children's ward who are going through cancer treatments. Again, those are relationships fraught with difficulties and complexities and potential heartache. Again, all of these decisions that he makes, all of these things that he does are because he truly believes that for the rest of his life, everything is supposed to be consumed by pain. Well, when the novel opens, he's hanging out but hiding in the emergency room, and a young man about his same age is brought into the emergency room. And the protagonist realizes that this young man has probably been the victim of a hate crime. He was at a party and was set on fire, probably because he was gay. And so the protagonist decides he's going to befriend him, again, trying to build a relationship with somebody who is in pain, who's not well, who may not survive. Again, another decision born out of this idea that any relationship that the protagonist has, can't be a healthy one, can't be a happy one, can't be a loving one, because he is suffering so deeply within himself from this terrible guilt from this car accident that's taken his family. I'm going to read the first 4 or so pages of the novel to give you an idea of the protagonist's mindset. Now, he honestly believes that death, with a capital D, made a mistake. When she took the rest of his family, she was actually also supposed to take him. And so, in addition to these destructive choices that he's making, this terrible guilt that he's carrying around, he spends a lot of his time navigating the hospital in the belief that death is lurking around, trying to come back and get him because she made a mistake in not taking him initially. And so there's a reference to death in this passage that I'm going to read, and that's why, because he's always on the lookout for her. The boy is on fire. EMTs wheel him into Roanoke General's sterile emergency room. He screams and writhes on the gurney as though the fire that burned his skin away burns still, flaring deep within his bones, where the paramedics and doctors and nurses crowding around him, working desperately, will never be able to extinguish it. The boy looks my age. His hair, where it isn't singed, is the color of autumn leaves, the kind of leaves I used to rake into piles with my dad and take running jumps into. I can't see the boy's eyes from where I'm hiding, but his voice is a chain. It grates as agony drags it out of his throat. The skin on his legs and part of his chest is charred black. The scent of burning lingers in my nose. And even as bile rises into the back of my throat, I can't help thinking of all the times I barbecued with my family during the summer. Mom would squirrel away extra food in the back of the fridge because Dad always burned the chicken. It's late and I should be gone, but I can't take my eyes off the boy. I'm a prisoner of his animal howls. There is nowhere in this hospital that I could hide to escape his screams, so I stay and watch and listen. I focus on the boy. The biggest concern is protecting his airway. I know that. It's basic stuff. If the boy breathed the fire, it might not matter how his skin looks like. That his screams reach every corner of Roanoke's claustrophobic emergency room is a good thing. When he stops screaming is when I'll worry. The doctors and nurses huddle, discussing their plan of attack, maybe. Praying, maybe. Mourning, maybe. The boy needs miracles, the storybook magic kind. One of the doctors, an octopus of a woman working with all 8 arms simultaneously, cuts away the ruined bits of clothing and peels them back like ragged strips of wallpaper. The boy moans. I turn away. I'm not prepared for this. I only came to the ER to say hi to the nurses and see if anyone had blown off a finger while lighting fireworks. Today, being the 4th of July, made my chances of seeing a grisly Roman candle accident pretty good. But this is bad. This is so much like that night. The small emergency room can hardly contain all the people crowded in it. The walls are white, the floors are white, the drapes that cordon off the exam rooms are eggshell, except for one space reserved for small children. That curtain is decorated with tiny, faded yellow ducks. The nurse's station is a stumbling block, perched in the middle of the ER, and all the doctors and nurses are forced to dance around it. The nurses complain, but it's a fixed point in space, immovable, like me. My calves ache from crouching and my shoulders are stiff. I fear that if I move, I'll be seen, and tonight I want to remain invisible. The boy on fire needs me to stay. He needs me to be witness to his pain. It's an odd thought to have, but I'm growing used to the odd thoughts that invade my brain these days, every day. Like how the ER smells remind me of an Italian grinder, the kind that's smothered in vinegar and mayo and too much oregano. Usually the emergency room is a stew of bleach and blood and whatever rotten odors the patients carry in with them. But not tonight. The boy isn't just burned, he's cooked. I turn back to the scene, hoping they've finished peeling him. He moves less than before. He cries less. Maybe the doctors gave him something for the pain, except he and I know that some pain burrows so deep no narcotic can ever soothe it. It's etched on your bones. It hides in your marrow like cancer. If the boy survives, this pain is a memory he won't want, so I'll remember it for him. Stephen, a nurse, startles me from behind. "What are you doing here?" he asks. Stephen is twiggy with a bulbous nose and a hairline that he left in high school, along with the rest of his good looks. "Hey, Stephen," I say, playing it nonchalant. I stand up slowly, not taking my eyes off the burning boy, and I hide my anxiety behind a lopsided grin. "I was on my way home and thought I'd stop by and say hi. Bad time, kiddo," says Stephen. He's cradling an armful of sterile gauze and looking where I'm looking. The boy screams. Stephen flinches. Sometimes I think he's too sensitive to be a nurse. I nod my head absently, letting Stephen's words settle into my ears, but not really hearing them. I try to reply, but the fire and the boy's screams sucks all the oxygen from the room. Stephen glances at the bandages in his hands and says, "I should go." "Me too," I say. "I'm working the breakfast shift tomorrow. See you then?" "Sure." Stephen's blue eyes light up at the mention of food. "Tell Arnold not to undercook the eggs. Runny eggs are disgusting." The boy screeches, and Stephen goes. He walks apologetically and disappears into the tumor of people surrounding the boy. I stay. The doctors and nurses press bandages to seared skin. After his airway, fighting infection is their next priority. I can't tell how much of the boy's body is burned, but it's enough. Soon they'll wheel him to another part of the hospital. I might never see him again. I don't even know his name. But I have to go. Death will appear soon, as she always does. She might take the boy, she might not, but I can't be around when she comes. She arrived late before and didn't get me, but she won't make the same mistake twice, and I'm not yet ready to leave. And again, this is titled The 5 Stages of Andrew BRAWLEY, and it's by Shaun David Hutchinson. Well, guys, thank you so much as always for watching. I do appreciate you. I continue to wish the best for you and your family and your friends, that everyone is healthy and remains so. I will see you next Friday for another edition of Book Fun Friday. So take care of yourselves until then. Bye.